Hello everyone and welcome back to Nagash, a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar, and in this video we're going to be looking at the Gloomspite Gitz again, and we will be specialising in the SPIDERFANG units. This is going to be all the spider units the Gloomspite Gitz have, from the Spider Riders all the way up to the Arachnaroks. So we're going to start with the Spider Riders. Now they are going to be the only battle line available to you if you just want to go SPIDERFANG, essentially like you've got in a Gloomspite Gitz army, if you take a SPIDERFANG general, the Spider Riders will become a battle line. So you can have a nice Spider theme army in the same way we saw we could have a nice Troll army in the last video. Okay, so they're going to cost you 100 points for 5 models. You can take max size units of 30 of them for 540 points. That's a saving of 60 points for the mass Legion discount, but I'll be honest, a unit of 30 of these, I mean, like I say, I don't play the army, but I think a unit of 30 of them might be a bit excessive or a bit too big, because bear in mind, like, their fangs and stuff only got a 1-inch range, which we'll get to in a moment. But, you know, they get a mass Legion discount, which is always a good thing. And 60 points off is quite a lot, yeah. A lot of it's like 30 or something points, but no, 60 points, that's good. Okay, so going into a description. A unit of SPIDERFANG Riders has any number of models, each armed with a crooked spear and a spider bow. Then it's a mount. So this unit's giant spiders attack with their fangs. Okay, so looking at their wheel stats, they've got a 10-inch movement, a 5+ save, a bravery 4, 2 wounds. To be fair, not too bad. I mean, yeah, they cost you 100 points for 5 models. And the bravery 4 is an absolute shocker. And, well, I say shocker, I mean, it's Gloomspite Gitz army, so goblins can't really expect too much, but bravery 4, it's going to really hurt if you fail a battleshot test with these guys. If you have to take one, you can't do Inspiring Presence. They've got a 5+ save. Yeah, that's alright, I'll take that, because these guys have got barely any armour, so it could have been a 6+, you know, you never know. It's 5+, 2 wounds piece, we come to expect that. Movement of 10 is what these guys is really good about them on the wheels. That, you know, it's their one good thing, but it is nice. Okay, then going into their weapons, so they've got 3. They've got 1 missile weapon and 2 melee weapons. So the first one is the missile weapon, and that is the spider bow. So it's got 16-inch range, 2 attacks, 5 hit, 5 wound, no rend, 1 damage. It is what it is. You're making 2 attacks with it. The range isn't terrible, and you might do some damage with it. It's better to have it than not to have it. If it was 1 attack, then I'd be like, well, it's a bit pointless. But 2 attacks makes sense, although it is 5 to hit. But yeah, and 5 to win. But you might do something with it. Never say no. Okay, and then we've got the melee weapons. So we've got crooked spear. So 2-inch range, 1 attack, 5 to hit, 4 to win, no rend, 1 damage. Not amazing in any stretch of the imagination. However, that is not what the Spider Riders are known for. It's not just the riders that you take them for. It is the spiders. So moving on to their fangs. So it's got a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 4 to hit, 4 to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. So not a bad attack, but not amazing, but we'll get to why it's good in a moment. Going into the abilities, so we've got the Spider Rider boss. The leader of this unit is a Spider Rider boss. You can add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons used by a Spider Rider boss. Yeah, it's good that you get a boss for this unit, you know, a champion if you will. The only thing is that it's add 1 to hit rolls, what isn't bad. Obviously, however, it's just nicer when it's just an extra attack or something. Just because it just makes it easier to roll the dice. I say this before, out of laziness really. However, I don't want to hit rolls for attacks made by melee weapons. Okay, so it will affect the mount as well, which is good. You know, okay, then it's better than him getting an extra attack with crooked spear or something, so yeah. Okay, so then going on to the next thing, you've got the Bone Drummer. So 1 in every 10 models in this unit can be a Bone Drummer. Add 2 to the run rolls for a unit that includes any Bone Drummers. Now, as it says 1 in every 10, I'm just going to double check the battle tome now, just to make sure that it is actually units of 5 minimum you can take of this, not units of 10. Yeah, so, okay, so you need to have 10 in a unit to have a drummer. Now, I don't know if this has been FAQ'd or something like that. Might be worth looking at that. Unfortunately, I haven't seen that. I'm sure someone pointed out in the comments. But yeah, 1 in every 10, so okay, so you can't really run around a unit of 5 of these because you want to get the add 2 to run rolls, because that is really quite big for them. Definitely, yeah. Okay, and then the spider totem. So 1 in every 10 up models in this unit can be a spider totem bearer. So add 2 to the very characteristics of a unit that includes any spider totem bearers. Okay, I'm starting to think that this is a misprint and they're meant to have a 1 in every 5. Maybe not, but there's not many other things out there, many other units that make you have to have above the minimum required unit size for that unit to get the banners and musicians and hornblowers and stuff like that. So yeah, that might be a misprint. Hopefully someone's going to point that out in the comments. Okay, and then going on to the real abilities. So we've got the spider venom, and that's why you take these guys. So the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by this model's giant spider fangs is a 6. That attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound or save roll. Okay, so people used to love the spiders for this because it used to be a 6+, and used to give them pluses to hit, and then it used to generate loads of mortal wounds. However, now it's unmodified hit roll of a 6, and I still generally believe that is better in the Age of Sigmar that we play in today. I may do a video on why I think a unmodified 6 is better than a 6+, to hit or to wound to generate extra abilities, because I do bring that up a lot, and honestly, all because there's so many more ways in Age of Sigmar now to make the enemy minuses to hit than for the enemy to get plus to hit. So essentially, you might think, oh, I can take this and there's a way to get plus on a hit there and there and all that sort of thing, but regardless, there's going to be more ways for the enemy to make you minuses to hit than you can make yourself pluses to hit. So you'll be worse off for it. So at least you're always going to be doing those mortal wounds, which is the main thing, especially when we're making 2 attacks. Something like that. I believe the when I looked at the Bad Moon Rising battle trait, you know, if the when the moon's in, you know, your quarter of the board, if for your Spiderfang units you do actually get a bonus, and that bonus, you know, for the Spiderfangs is pretty good, because what it is the Spiderfang venom. So while a Spiderfang model is affected by the light of the Bad Moon, its Spiderfang ability causes a mortal wound on an unmodified hit roll of a 5+ rather than a 6. So make these guys within the light of the Bad Moon, and now you're doing more wounds than 5s, and that's on modified 5s. Yeah, that'll be on modified 5s as far as I'm aware. I think that's how it works. So you'd just be doing, you know, easier way to do more wounds. So that's all nice there. And then you've got Wall Crawlers for its last ability. So when this model makes a move, it can pass across terrain features in the same manner as a model that can fly. Okay, so you might think, oh cool, these guys can fly. Important difference here, it says terrain. So these won't be able to fly over units, any models, just terrain. But still is good. It still can be useful, especially when it's like trying hard to pile in when you're next to a terrain feature. You know, oh, I would be able to get so many more attacks in, but they can't move over the wall. Now they can. So it's nice. And they're spiders. It makes sense, doesn't it? You know, so that's good. And then the keywords, we've got Destruction, Gloomspite Gitz, Spiderfang, Grot, and Spider Riders. Okay, so what do I think about them? If you get an all spider army, they're not bad. It's not like, oh, I don't want to do an all Spiderfang army because they're terrible. They're not. I don't think they're the best. Very stretch of imagination. They're missing some things that some vital, you know, major player units do have. However, they're not bad. They've got a range attack. Yeah, it's not very good. However, it's got a lot of attacks with it. If you got, you know, 10 of these guys, you're making 20 shots. Yeah, you hit on a 5 and wound on a 5, but still 20 shots. You got good mortal wound potential. Yeah, I'd say you got good mortal wound potential if you're within light of the Bad Moon. If you're not, you still got a chance of doing them. And they're just a really, really fast unit. 2 wound piece cavalry, monstrous cavalry, if you like. Although monstrous cavalry in Age of Sigmar is an interesting topic because you've got things like Blood Knights, Chaos Knights, Spider Riders, Drakespawn Knights, all those sorts of things. Saurus Knights, which were monstrous cavalry back in the day, but now are nothing really compared to Dracovs and Dracolines and, well, Mornfangs and things like that. So, yeah. They're not bad. They're not too expensive either. It's going to be one of those things. If you love spiders, you're going to be running these guys, and they're not bad. And there's ways for them to help, especially like I say, if you make them in light of the Bad Moon, they're doing more wounds on 5s. There's a way for them to reroll their hit rolls. All this sort of things really play into it, so you can do a lot with them. Right, and then moving on to the next thing, and because that's like the only sort of battle line unit / other unit the Spiderfang have got. we're going to go all the way up now to the Arachnarok spiders. Now, how I usually like to do these reviews, I like to start with the weakest units and make your way all the way up. However, I like to do things like, so what I'll be doing is the spider riders, so, you know, other unit battle line, then monsters, and then the heroes. So looking at the Arachnarok, now there is actually multiple ways to make and build the Arachnarok. Now, there used to be, of course, but they used to be all part of the same war scroll. Now they have divided the war scrolls into 3 separate ones, and this is going to be the Arachnarok spider with Spiderfang War Party, the Arachnarok spider with Flinger, and the Skitterstrand Arachnarok. Now there is actually a 4th one, which is the hero one, but I suppose so. Yeah, you can build it in 4 different ways. So there are 4 war scroll now, but there are 3 that are non-hero ones, and they're the ones we're going to be looking at. So the first one we're going to look at is the Arachnarok spider with the Spiderfang War Party, which is going to be the one with all the grots jumping around it. And this is also the cheapest one. So looking at the description, so basically it's Behemoth, it's a monster, and it's not going to be battle line, surprise, surprise. So let's have a look at its description. An Arachnarok spider with Spiderfang War Party is a single model armed with cinturous legs and monstrous fangs. I'm not going to be chitterous. I can't pronounce that word, I'm afraid, and I will be saying it a lot, so I'm going to try to avoid it best I can. Right, so anyway, talks about the crew. So this model has a Spiderfang Grot crew. It attacks with their crooked spears and spider bows. For rule purposes, the crew are treated in the same manner as a mount. That's quite interesting. So the crew who are mounted upon this Arachnarok spider, the crew themselves is treated as a mount. I understand for rule purposes that has to make sense, but it's quite bizarre, isn't it? Okay, so going into their wheel stats. So it's got a movement of 8, but that's what it starts with, as it is dash movement, so it will get weaker over time. It's got a 4+ save, a bravery 6, and 14 wounds. Okay, so movement of 8. Not gonna lie, that's not really a massive movement, especially for a monster and for something of this size. But it's got a 4+ save, which is good. It could have easily been a 5+ save. And bear in mind, this guy's costing you 250 points, so it's not that expensive either. So yeah, 4+ save is good. Bravery 6, I'm glad it's above 4. I mean, like if it was 4 bravery, then Jesus Christ. But no, bravery 6. Yeah, I mean, it's above halfway, isn't it, in between, 0 to a 10, if you like. So yeah, not bad. 14 wounds. Yep, that's nice for something this cheap. 14 wounds is nice to see. Right. Okay, and then going on to their weapons. So they have actually got 4 types of weapons. They've got a missile weapon and 3 melee weapons. So first one is spider bows, and this is the missile weapon. So this is a 16-inch range, 10 attacks, 5 hit, 5 wound, no range, 1 damage, like the bows which the spider riders had. Not as good wounds and hit characteristics at all. Not a terrible range again, but you're making 10 attacks, aren't you? So you might be lucky, you might get 1 or 2 through. Okay, and then going into the melee weapons, and that's what this is more about. Basically what we got is the legs attack. So this is a 3-inch range. It's got 8 attacks to start with. It's forced to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, and 1 damage. So, like I say, it's 8 to start with because it's got a dash symbol for its attack, so it will get weaker, refer to the damage table as you would with the movement. Yeah, I think this reads really good until it gets to 1 damage. I think it would have been lovely if it was 2 damage. Not gonna lie, I mean, they're massive legs, aren't they? And they can, well, if you've ever played Warhammer Total War, or you've ever seen a trailer for it, there's a bit where Arachnarok spider literally just pierces through Empire soldiers with its legs and goes to eat them. So, yeah. I mean, I would have really liked 2 damage in all fairness, but you're making 8 attacks, so it's not bad. Right, okay, they've got a monstrous fang, so it's a 1-inch range, 4 attacks. It starts to hit on a 2, but it's a dash symbol again, so refer to the damage table. Wounds on a 3, -1 rend, D3 damage. Again, I think I'd prefer that to be 2 damage, or maybe even 3 might have been too much for how cheap this guy is, but no, D3 is not bad. I would have liked, I think -2 rend would have sold it. It's massive fangs from a spider. Monstrous fangs as it's called, so -2 rend would have been nice, but it's not bad. It's got a good to hit characteristic to start with and good to wound. Okay, and then we've got crooked spears, so this is a 1-inch range, 10 attacks, 5 to hit, 4 to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. which is where they're goblins, aren't they? But it's 10 extra attacks. It's like the bows. You're making 10 extra attacks. So, you know, you can't turn your nose down too much to it. Right, okay, so those are the attacks. Not bad. Just, I would have liked a little bit more, but it, you know, it's 250 points, so you can't ask for too much. Then again, a Keeper of Secrets is only 110 points more than this, and I know that's not really a fair comparison again, but that's how I'm comparing a lot of things, because that is like the latest monster, and is a monster that I have recently got, so I've been looking a lot into its War Scroll. But this isn't that. Anyway, it's not bad. Right, but let's have a look at the abilities. So, Spider Venom. So, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with this model's monstrous fangs is a 6, and that attack inflicts D3 mortal wounds on the target, and the attack sequence ends, do not make a wound roll or save roll. So, essentially, this is what you get for your Spider Riders, but you get it for the Arachnarok, which makes his attack a bit better. Yeah, I'll agree with that. It does. It makes you need a 6, so it's a no guarantee in any stretch of the imagination that you will definitely get this off. But if you do, it's a good way to do mortal wounds to the enemy. I mean, even if it's a slight way to do mortal wounds to the enemy, it's so important for your army to have potential, especially when you go against things like Stormcast, things with really good saves. It's really, really good to be able to do the small wounds. Again, if you're under the light of the Bad Moon Rises battle trait, his will trigger on a 5+, and then it starts becoming quite nice, especially with 4 attacks. Good chance of doing D3 mortal wounds. So yes, I do like that. Okay, and then going into Ferocious Predator, so you can reroll run and charge rolls for this model. In addition, roll a dice for each enemy unit that's within 1 inch of this model. After this model makes a charge move on a 2+, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Cool. Not even on a 4+, on a 2+, nice. So you're gonna, I want to say you're gonna guarantee getting that off. I mean, on 1 unit, you got a good chance of doing that. This guy's got quite a big base, so you can probably charge 2 units, and you know you're more than likely going to get at least 1 of them, if not 2 of them, and then it goes to its attack. So it's starting to make this more killy, which I like. And then the last ability is Wall Crawler. So when this model makes a move, it can pass across terrain features in the same manner as a model that can fly. So again, can't go over models, but can go over terrain features. Now, I like this because it's only got an 8-inch movement to start with, so this really does sort of help to try and just keep that movability going. And it really pairs in well with the Ferocious Predator, because you can reroll run and charge rolls for this model as well, so it just helps it get that a little bit faster, get to where it needs, because like I say, it's a big model. That's a big plump target for enemies shooting and things like that, so you want to get it where you need it, and it's got the capability of doing that, to be fair. Okay, and then the keywords, we've got Destruction, Arachnarok, Spider, Gloomspite Gitz, Spiderfang and Monster. I don't think this is bad. I don't think it's as good as other options there are in different armies, or even other options you've got in this army, but for 250 points, it's not bad. Kid Surprise is quite swingy. I mean, if you look at it like it's got a good chance of doing the mortal wounds, it certainly makes up for it. This guy chucks out a lot of attacks by, you know, no stretch of imagination, a lot of attacks. I don't know, I just feel like it's missing something, like an extra -1 rend on the Monstrous Fang, something like that. But it's an awesome model, isn't it? And like we said, this is the cheapest one, so we're going to see what the other ones are like. But if you do really like the spiders, it's not bad. I don't want you to feel like it is. Like I say, I haven't actually used it on the battlefield. I fought against them, but I haven't actually used them myself. So I don't know. I'm just looking at from a, you know, from just thinking about the sort of theory crafting, how this works rather than actually on practice. So yeah, if you do use the Arachnoids and stuff, let me know in the comments and stuff how you get on with them. Because like I say, I do really like the models. It's just a case of how well they actually in practice. But no, not bad. Okay, so we're then going to look at the next one, and this is going to be the Skitterstrand Arachnarok Spider. So the Skitterstrand is going to cost you 260 points, so 10 points more. It is a behemoth, so there we go. And its description is a Skitterstrand Arachnarok is a single model armed with its legs and its monstrous fangs. Okay, so looking at the will stats, It is going to be exactly the same as the last one we looked at, so an 8-inch movement with a star, so it gets weaker, 4+ save, bravery 6, 14 wounds, so exactly what I said for the last one, so overall not bad, just not very good bravery. Okay, and then it's melee weapons, so it's only got 2, and it has no missile weapons. So the 2 melee weapons, so it's legs, 3-inch range, it starts with 8 attacks, which will get weaker over time like the last one, and again it's the same characteristic, so hits on a 4, wounds on a 3, -1 rend, and 1 damage. And then monstrous fangs, which has got a range of 1, 4 attacks, starts hitting on a 2 with a star, so we'll get a weaker, wins on a 3, -1 rend, and D3 damage. That's exactly the same as it was before. So to be fair, so far its will stats and its melee weapons are exactly the same as they were before, apart from you're not getting the goblin attacks. So why is this guy 10 points more expensive? Let's have a look. So looking at the ability, so you've got ambush from beyond. So instead of setting up this model on the battlefield, you can place it to one side and say that this is set up in an ambush as a reserve unit. At the end of your movement phase, you can set up one or more of the reserve units that are in ambush on the battlefield, more than 9 inches from an enemy unit. Any reserve units that are in ambush that are not set up on the battlefield before the start of the 4th battle round are slain. Okay, so that means that you can do it at any turn. You know, well, when I say any turn, I mean like the 1st battle round, the 2nd battle round, or the 3rd battle round. Otherwise, it's not going to be too good for you. So, but that's good. A lot of the times, it's a case of like, oh, you've got to set up in the 1st battle round. It's like, oh, well, I might as well just fucking deploy it then. So, yes, that's good. I imagine that's what this guy is for. That's why it's the extra 10 points. It's quite, I mean, like we say, or like I've already said, the Arachnarok so far, it's not a really scary monster. It looks scary, but it's not really that scary. However, that's the important thing. It looks scary. If your opponent has not fought one of these before, and, I don't know, you're at a tournament, let's just say they haven't fought one, and you go, right, okay, I'm taking this and I'm putting it in the ambush from beyond, and then you explain how you can set it up during the game. That's going to make your opponent start double thinking exactly where they're moving units. Oh, if I move, okay, I need to move this to take the objectives before to get in range to shoot. Oh no, I can't do that because if I do that, it leaves a gap in my territory behind me where the spider could pop up, so I have to move back. But it really starts affecting their movement, and it makes them have to make a lot more choices and make a lot more decisions. And like I always say, the more decisions, the more problems you present to your opponent, they're going to make a mistake sooner or later. So this is just another one you're chucking at them. With the Gloomspite Gitz, you're chucking quite a lot of problems for the enemy to deal with, and this is just another thing for them to think of. You know, bloody hell, there's another like massive spider as well, like in ambush somewhere. So yeah, I do quite like it. Mainly, not saying for how powerful it is and how like, you know, deep striking this thing and then charging and stuff is, but on the other hand, it's more for the psychological effect it does on your opponent. So that's why I like the ambush from beyond ability. Right, okay, and then looking at the spider venom, so it's the same we saw before. So a unmodified hit roll of a 6 for the monstrous fangs will do D3 more wounds to the enemy instead of normal damage. And if you're within the light of the bad moon rising for the battle trait for the Gloomspite Gitz, it is going to trigger this on a 5 instead of a 6. So that's nice. And then we've got wall crawler, so it's the same thing. So when this model makes a move, it can pass across terrain features in the same manner as a model that can fly. So like I say, why that's good. Just bear in mind that's not going to be for units and things like that. Okay, and then looking at the keywords, we've got Destruction, Arachnarok Spider, Gloomspite Gitz, SPIDERFANG, Skitterstrand, and then a monster. So there's keywords. Now, it's not bad. I prefer this one. Mainly because, if you look at it, like on average, well, attacks and all that sort of thing, by its war scroll, the last one's better. The one with the SpiderFang War Party is better. You're chucking more attacks at the enemy, all those sort of things. You're making the thing be able to do damage when it charges. I don't know why this one doesn't do it, but yeah, the last one could do more wounds when it charges. It's just flat out better, in my honest opinion, and it's 10 points less. However, the psychological effect you're putting on your opponent with this one is worth the extra 10 points for me, and that's the one I would do, because you've always got to, you know, Age of Sigmar is very much, you know, look to see what you've got on the battlefield to fight with and all those sorts of things, but it's very much a mind game you have with your opponent, as well as what's on the table. So yeah, I do like that, and it's quite cool, isn't it? Like a sneaky spider, all that sort of thing, right? Almost reminds me of if you've ever seen the film Eight-Legged Freaks, where there is a man in one bit, I swear, he's sitting in a chair and watching something on TV, and there's a spider behind his chair that starts to open up its legs and put its legs on the front of the chair and starts to basically do not very nice things to the man sitting in the chair. But that's what reminds me of this. It's very creepy and I mean, I don't really like spiders. I deal with them, but I'm not a massive fan. So this, you know, it brings a sort of fear into it, which I like. Okay, and then we're then going to look at the Arachnarok spider with Flinger. This is the most expensive one, so this is 270 points. So when I say the most expensive, I mean 10 points more than the last one, and then 20 points more than the one before that. So there's not really a huge gap in price for these, but 20 points more can often be the difference between you fitting in an endless spell into your list or something right, you know, you get up to right towards the end of your list. So let's see what you're going to get. So firstly, he is a behemoth and it's SPIDERFANG, no surprise, and within the Gloomspite army. So the description for this model is an Arachnarok spider with a Flinger is a single model armed with a Flinger and legs and a monstrous fangs. So let's have a look at the crew. So this model has a SPIDERFANG Grot crew that attack with the crooked spears and spider bows. For rule purposes, the crew are treated in the same manner as a mount. So what we saw with the Arachnarok spider with the SPIDERFANG war party, always I think it's funny how they're treated as a mount, but no, that's for rule purposes, it makes sense. Okay, so looking at their will stat, this is exactly the same as we saw before. So movement is star, which means 8 and it gets weaker. Save is a 4+, a bravery 6 and 14 wounds. Yeah, not bad, like I've already said. Going into the weapons now, they actually have 5 weapons. Okay, so they've got 2 missile weapons and then 3 melee weapons. So they've got the most weapons out of all of the Arachnarok spider units. So not bad. And when I say like the most of them, I mean, you know, out of the non-hero variant, out of just the general monster ones. So let's have a look at the first one. So it says Flinger, so it's got a 36-inch range and it's got water attack. And then it says see below for the to hit, wound, rend and damage. So we're going to park that up, put it on the back burner for a little while, and then we're going to go for the rest of the attacks and then we'll come back to it when we go to the abilities. Okay, so Spider Bow, so 16-inch range, 8 attacks, 5 to hit, 5 to wound, no rend and 1 damage. So the same as what we saw for the SPIDERFANG war party, apart from this makes 8 attacks and not 10. So not as good. Looking at the melee weapons, so we've got the legs, which is the same as what we've seen before. So air attacks to start with, but we'll get weaker as it's a star for its attacks. 4 to hit, 3 to wound, minus 1 rend, 1 damage. Yeah, like I say, not bad, but always prefer it to have the an extra 2 damage or something. If it was like a 2 damage attack, would be lovely. Then we got monstrous fang. So this is a 1-inch range, 4 attacks, 2 to hit, 3 to wound, minus 1 rend, D3 damage. So the same as we've seen before. Which of course will be triggering those more wounds on 6s to hit. Like I say, nice it had an extra minus 1 rend to it. And then with crooked spear, so 1-inch range, 8 attacks, 5 to hit, 4 to wound, no rend and 1 damage. So again, 2 less attacks than the one with the Arachnarok spider with the SPIDERFANG war party on it. However, you've got a catapult on this, so there's less room, shall we say, for more goblins to be throwing and stabbing people with spears and hitting people with arrows, or missing people with arrows with those attack characteristics. Anyway, then we're going to go into the abilities. So the first one I'm going to look at is the Flinger. So I'm going to return to the missile weapons, which was the Flinger has a 36-inch range and it's got 1 attack. Okay, and then how do you use it? Let's have a look. So do not use the attack sequence for an attack made with a Flinger. Instead, roll a dice. Add 1 to the dice roll if the target unit has at least 5 models. Add 2 to the dice roll if the target unit has at least 10 models. On a 6+, the target unit suffers D3 mortal wounds and is engulfed in a sticky webs. A unit that is engulfed in sticky webs fights at the end of the next combat phase after players have picked any other units to fight. Okay, so if you're using this to target anything with 5 less models, forget it basically, or 1 in 6 chance of doing it. You might do it. I mean, if there's nothing else enraged, why not do it? There's, you know, you might get it. But always obviously target horde units, because on a 5+, obviously you get +1 to it, so then you need to roll a 5 or up. But if you're attacking any units with 10 plus models, then you need to roll a 4 or more on that dice roll to do D3 mortal wounds. But the main thing here is like D3 mortal wounds. Okay, that's nice. But the main thing you're looking at here is doing the sticky webs to make them fight the end of the next combat phase. Because there's things like Deepkin, as an example, that, you know, like on turn 3 they attack first and all that sort of thing. But there's a way to cancel it out, you know. And then you've also got things like they can't do that, you know, like most other units in the game. And now you're making them fight at the end of the combat phase, which is really, really good, but it's more specifically good for an army in the Gloomspites and also, you know, more specifically the Spiderfangs. Just because you don't have the best saves, do you? Let's be honest, the saves you have for the Gloomspite Gitz are not the best there are out there. They're not exactly Stormcast armor. You know, as annoying as Stormcast are, their saves are better than the Gloomspite. So why is that important? Now, you're making the enemy fight last, so that means you should be able to hit them first, and that means that they are going to be less impactful to you when it's their turn to attack. So your bad saves are not going to matter as much. So that is the main reason for the Flinger. Still not really sold on it, but if you manage to get it off, to be fair, if you target horde units with it, you're rolling again, trigger not 50-50. It's not too bad. Okay, but if you get it off, I do like it. Not for the D3 mortal wounds, but for the sticky webs. Okay, then the next one is spider venom. So, like I said, roll a 6 to hit with the monstrous fangs, and that's an unmodified hit roll of 6. You do D3 mortal wounds instead of normal damage. And then we've got rule crawler, so that allows you to go over terrain features when this thing moves, like it could fly, but it can't move over units. And then the keywords, we've got destruction, Arachnarok, spider, Gloomspite Gitz, Spiderfang, and monster. Okay, so in summary, if you're lucky and you target the right things and you can get the sticky webs off, then yeah, this thing's good. But I don't see, for me, I don't prefer it more than the other stuff. It's got a 36-inch range, though, to be fair, with the what do you call it, the Flinger. So that does make it pretty good. That's probably going to be most things on the board you can hit. So if the horde units hiding behind, well, not hiding behind something, but if they're horde units, you know, quite far back, you should still be able to hit them. So there is that. But to be fair, of all the Arachnarok monsters I've reviewed so far before we get to the hero one, my favourite one is probably going to be the War Scroll wise, you know, just for stats and all those sorts of things. The one with the Spiderfang War Party is the best one, I'll say that. But my personal favourite is the Skitterstrand Arachnarok, just for the ambush from beyond. As you know, I'll read a little bit about its lore. So it says, creeping out from their webs, weathered Trojan lairs, Skitterstrand Arachnarok spiders burst through temporary realm gates to snatch up their prey, biting off heads, injecting paralyzing venom, and dragging helpless victims away into the darkness. Okay, so that's why I prefer the Skitterstrand Arachnarok, because of that, because it's cool, and just for the psychological effect it's going to put on your opponent. If your opponent knows where Arachnarok spider is, they know there are stats and stuff, they might not be too scared of it, but they're still going to have to bear it in mind that it could just pop up at any turn. Well, I say any turn, I mean, like, you know, before turn 4. Okay, so that's my favourite out of these three, but let us move on to the heroes. Now, I am not going to go straight into the Arachnarok hero, and that's because I want to say that's the end, because it's the most expensive model the Spiderfangs have, you know, for point reasons. So let's have a look at something a lot smaller than that, and that is going to be the Webspinner Shaman. So the Webspinner Shaman is a wizard, it's a leader, and it is going to cost you 80 points. So pretty damn cheap, you know, your standard goblin sort of wizard. So looking at the description, a Webspinner Shaman is a single model armed with a spider god staff. So he's got a 5+ movement, a 6+ save, 5 bravery, and 4 wounds. Not the best characteristics. I mean, the only thing that's good there is at least it's not a 4-inch move. At least he's got a save. At least it's not bravery 4. You know, there's all these things just saying it could be worse. Not saying it is good, but just saying it could be worse. But that's not why you take this guy. You know, he's not going to get stuck into the fight. However, if he does get stuck into the fight, the melee weapons. So we've got the Spider God Staff. So this is a 1-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, 3 to wound, minus from rend, and D3 damage. Okay, so a standard wizard attack. And then going into the abilities, so we've got Touched by the Spider God. So roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to this model. On a 5+ of that, a wound or mortal wound is negated. Fantastic. That makes him so much more survivable now. He's ignoring a third of all the damage he takes. Can't be too much because he's only got 4 wounds. However, it's a difference. It's going to be the enemy, they just want to chip away at shooting with him or something like that just to make him piss off. It's going to be harder for the enemy to do that, and that is really, really nice. It's nice that it's not just mortal wounds, it is wounds as well. Okay, and then we've got magic. So this model is a wizard. Can attempt to cast 1 spell in your hero phase and attempt to unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase. It knows the Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and Speed of the Spider God spells. Right, so we know what Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield does, so let's have a look at the Speed of the Spider God. So what does it say? Speed of the Spider God has a casting value of 4. It successfully casts, pick 1 friendly SPIDERFANG unit wholly within 24 inches of the caster and is visible to them. Until your next hero phase, that unit can run and still shoot later in the same turn. If the casting roll is 8 or more, pick up to D3 friendly SPIDERFANG units instead. So firstly, casting value of a 4, that is, well, it's going to increase your chance massively for you to be able to get this spell off, because you're not getting any plus the casting from what I can remember. You're not getting any from War Scroll, so that is huge. And then, like I say, pick 1 SPIDERFANG unit, hold within 24 inches of the caster, and it's visible to them, so it has to be visible to them, but hold within 24 inches, so a big range. And then until your next hero phase, that unit can run and still shoot later in the same turn. The only thing about it though is that run and still shoot. I mean, your shooting attacks aren't really fantastic, are they? So, yeah, it would have been amazing if it was run and charge, but just run and shoot. Yeah, I mean, you can spend a command point on it if you like. You can spend a command point. Thing is though, you've got things like the spider bows for the spider riders, which have got 2 attacks each. Yes, they hit and win on a 5, which is, like I say, not fantastic. However, now that means they can run and still do their shooting, so you can really, it helps these guys get to where they need to be without you having to make the sacrifice of not them being able to shoot, which isn't really their main problem. You know, it's not the biggest wish they could ask for, but it's nonetheless, you get it. And you might think it's not worth doing that much, but this only casts on a 4+, so it's very easy to get off, isn't it? It's not like it's command ability or something, it's very easy to get off. And the other thing to mention is that you might be using this guy just to do Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield anyway. Well, when I say Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield, I mean Mystic Shield anyway. Okay, and then looking at the keywords, he's got Destruction, Grot, Gloomspite Gitz, SPIDERFANG, Hero, Wizard, and Webspinner Shaman. So then we're going to move on to something a bit bigger and going back to the theme of things riding spiders. And that is going to be the Scuttleboss on Gigantic Spider. Now the Scuttleboss on Gigantic Spider is going obviously to be a hero, is a leader. It's going to cost you 100 points. So not too much. And then looking at the description, so a Scuttleboss on Gigantic Spider is a single model armed with a envenomous spear, so a mount, and then it says this model's Gigantic Spider attacked with its gigantic fangs. Okay, so there we go, nice and straightforward. Okay, and then looking at the wheel stats, so 8-inch movement, 4+ save, a bravery 6, and 6 wounds. Not bad at all, to be fair. 100 points for a goblin hero. That's got a movement of 8, really good. A 4+ save, very good. Bravery 6. Like I say, not good, but it's goblins. You know, this bravery is still the same as a Indenef Deacon, eel, or shark, so it's not that bad. And then wounds of 6 wounds. I like it, especially how well a lot of heroes, like the one we just reviewed for the Gloomspite, the Webspinner Shaman, only has 4 wounds, so 6 wounds is very nice. Now let's have a look at its weapons. It's got 2 and they're both melee weapons. So the Envenomous Spear, so 2-inch range, 4 attacks, force to hit, force to wound, master rend, 1 damage. And then Gigantic Fangs, 1-inch range, force attacks, force hit, 3 to win, minus 1 rend, 1 damage. I would have liked for one of those attacks to be 2 damage. I don't really care if it is the Envenomous Spear or the Gigantic Fangs. preferably the gigantic fangs, as that fits the spider theme. The spider is going to do more damage than the guy on top. However, the spider, it's got a better wound characteristic, but the spear's got a better range. So it's like they're both sort of the same, to be honest. Which means that he's a Scuttleboss, isn't he? The guy on top, but you think a gigantic spider would be a little bit more terrifying. Now, going into the abilities, so we've got the spider venom. So again, that's on a unmodified 6 to hit for the gigantic fangs. It's going to do a mortal wound to the enemy instead of normal damage. And then we've got a wall crawler, which allows you to, again, like we've read for all of them before, allows you to move over terrain features if this model could fly, but it can't move over, units and other models that way. Right, and then let's have a look at its command ability. So, ride them all down. So you can use this command ability at the start of your charge phase. If you do so, pick one friendly SPIDERFANG Grot unit wholly within 8 inches of a model with this command ability. You can reroll charge rolls for that unit in the charge phase. In addition, you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made with that unit's crooked spears in the following combat phase. Basically what this is saying is put it on to the SPIDERFANG Spider Riders. That's essentially what it's saying. Yeah, you can put it on, like Arachnarok or something, but if you really want to put it on to the Spider Riders, that's basically exactly what this is saying to you. And yeah, it's not a bad one. To reroll your charges is absolutely massive, because these guys fail their charge and they get countercharged by something nasty that attacks them first. You do not want to be them at all. That's going to be... You want these guys... They're shot cover, aren't they? You want them to charge in and do the damage, and this is just going to help you to do that. And getting those rerolls for their, crooked spears is huge, because your attack for that hits on a 5. So rerolling that, the hits is going to be massive, because you'll be rerolling quite a lot of dice. And it's not just reroll ones, it's reroll those hits. So yep, very big. Yeah, it's only for the following combat phase. It's not until your next hero phase, but still, it's a nice command ability. And in the Gloomspite Gitz army, compared to a lot of other armies, you're going to be swimming in command points, so I'm sure you can find one spare to spend it on this. And the keywords is Destruction, Grot, Gloomspite Gitz, SPIDERFANG, Hero, and Scuttleboss. So, Scuttleboss for 100 points, not bad at all. We'd like a little bit more damage potential, but it is what it is. It's only costing you 100 points, and it hasn't got the Stormcast keyword, so that is very important there. Right, okay, and then we're going to move on to our last unit on this review, and this is going to be the most expensive one for the SPIDERFANG, and this is going to be the Webspinner Shaman, but this time he's on an Arachnarok Spider, which is also the last variant you can build the Arachnarok. So this guy's going to cost you 300 points. He is a leader, he's obviously a wizard and all those sorts of things as well, and a behemoth. 300 points, so the same thing as we saw for the dank old Trog boss. He's expensive, but let's see what you're going to get. Right, so firstly, looking at the description, a Webspinner Shaman on Arachnarok Spider is a single model armed with a Spider God staff. Mount: this model's Arachnarok Spider attacks with its legs and monstrous fangs. Crew: this model has a SPIDERFANG Grot crew that attack with their crooked spears and spider bows. For the rule purposes, the crew are treated in the same manner as a mount. So what we've seen for all the other Arachnaroks so far, that have got a crew on, of course. Right, and then going into the it's wheel stats, so exact same as seen before. So starts moving 8, 4 plus save, 6 bravery, 14 wounds. Yep, good. And then going into its attack, so it's got 5 different weapons. It's got 1 missile weapon and then 4 melee weapons. So the 1 missile weapon, so spider bows. It's got 16-inch range, 8 attacks, 5 to hit, 5 to wound, no range 1 damage. So the same as what we've seen for a little while now. Obviously 2 attacks less than the Arachnarok Spider with the SPIDERFANG War Party on it. Right, okay, and then looking at it, a melee weapon, so we've got the Spider God Staff. So that's got a 1-inch range, 1 attack, 4 to hit, 3 to win, -1 range, D3 damage, the same as the Shaman, as we've seen him when he is not mounted upon the Arachnarok Spider. And then we've got the leg attack again, so a 3-inch range attack. Starts with 8 attacks will get weaker further to damage table. It's got a 4 to hit, 3 to win, -1 range, 1 damage, the same as we've seen before. The monstrous fangs, so 1-inch range, 4 attacks, hits on a 2, has got a damage table for that though, so it will get harder to hit roll as time goes on. Well, I say time goes on, the more damage this guy takes. And then it wounds on a 3, -1 rend, and D3 damage, as we've seen before. And then it's got 1 inch range with 8 attacks for its crooked spears, 5 to hit, 4 to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. Right, okay, then going into the abilities, so we've got the Catch Web Spiderstrand. So add 1 to cast and unbinding rolls for friendly Spiderfang wizards while they are within 12 inches of any friendly models with this ability. So what I said earlier about the Webspinner shaman on foot not being able to get plus to cast in, from what I can think of, well, here's just a really easy way to do it. But that is going to benefit this guy as well, so this guy is going to be always +1 to cast. Then we've got Spider Venom. So this means when you roll a 6 to hit with a monstrous fangs, a unmodified hero of a 6, you do D3 mortal wounds instead of your normal damage. That's the same as seen before for the Arachnaroks. And then its next ability is Prophet of the Spider God. So if this model is your general for your army, that means you can add 2 to the bravery characteristics of friendly Spiderfang units wholly within 24 inches of this model. Fantastic. That means that your Arachnaroks are now bravery 8 for the most part, you know. Just checking to make sure, yeah, the bravery 8 means your Spider Riders are now bravery 6 because bravery 4 really hurts them. So bravery 6 is nice. And your Webspinner shaman on foot is now bravery 7. So all nice indeed for that. And just a really nice ability. It's not even like your old eye. It's just a flat, nice ability. Like I say, this is a big plump target in the middle of the board. So the enemy will probably shoot this thing as soon as they hear it's your general. But it's a nice ability. It helps out the army. Right, okay. So then going on to the next ability is Wall Crawler. So this is the thing that when this model makes a move, it can pass across terrain features in the same manner as a model that can fly. Just bear in mind it can't be units or other models. Right, and then going into magic, so this model is a wizard. It can attempt to cast 2 spells in your hero phase and attempt to unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase. It knows the Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and Venom of the Spider God spell. Okay, that caught me by surprise. I thought just be able to cast 1 spell, but no, can cast 2 spells. Fantastic. That means when you're playing in the realms, he's got, you know, more chance of being able to cast a realm spell. When I say more chance, he should be able to cast a realm spell if he's not needed to cast another spell. For example, Realm of Fire, there is a spell there that adds 1 to damage to a friendly unit. So you can pick the Spiderfang, you know, Spider Riders unit, a Arachnarok Spider, or even pick this guy, and then that makes his legs attack 2 damage, and so on. So all really quite not that. You put it like Spider Riders, that makes the Cricket Spears 2 damage, isn't it? So yeah, that is just one of the reasons why it's really good and really important for this guy to be able to cast 2 spells. Again, you can use him to cast an endless spell, something like that, or simply a Mystic Shield or an Arcane Bolt with his unique spell. So let's move on to the unique spell. So Venom of the Spider God. Venom of the Spider God has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly Spiderfang unit wholly within 16 inches of the caster and is visible to them. Until your next hero phase, double the number of mortal wounds inflicted by that unit's Spear Venom ability. If the casting roll is a 10 or more, pick up to D3 different friendly Spiderfang units instead of 1. Okay, so that's why you take this guy. That's why you take the Webspinner, purely for the Venom of the Spider God ability. Now, there are other things about him. He just costs a lot of points, but just that spell alone makes it so good. And he casts on a 5 as well, because he's getting the +1 to casting. Makes it so good and so important. Yeah, I really, really like it. Can't fault it at all, really. That spell, that just brilliant. What the most competitive thing to do is put this on a big unit of Spider Riders, but you know that's going to be the best thing, of course, because most attacks are mortal wounds, I think, output. But even if you put it on Arachnarok, even put it on yourself, it's still going to really, really help. So yes, that is a really, really good spell, and that's why I say it's very important this guy casts 2 spells, because you're always more than likely going to want to cast that spell, and then you've got the other spell to do a Mystic Shield or to do one of the realm spells or an endless spell. Very, very important there, and works really, really well. And then the keywords, we've got Destruction of Arachnarok Spider, Gloomspite Gitz, Spiderfang, Monster, Hero, Wizard, and Webspinner Shaman. So that is the last unit for the Spiderfang. And what do I think in summary? I think in summary, they're not the strongest part of the Gloomspite Gitz, but that does not mean that they are not good. They are good. They have nice little synergies going in. I think they are missing a few things. So you can make just a Spiderfang army if you really would like to. However, I personally feel like if you just stick yourself to Spiderfang within the Gloomspite Gitz, you're missing a few tricks. But they work as a cohesive force, and they have some nice synergistic abilities. And as someone who's fought Spider Fangs before, but in like first edition of Age of Sigmar, so before all this came out. I can say I very, very rarely fought them, but they catch you by surprise because it's not an army used to fighting, and the mortal wound output can hit you really, really hard if they get lucky with their 6s to roll. And they have some really, really nice models. Like I said, the models are a bit older now, especially compared to a lot of the Gloomspite Gitz re-releases they got for the squigs and stuff, but they're still quite nice. You know, a gigantic spider. What's not cool about that? So yeah, that is the SPIDERFANG unit. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did so, please like, subscribe, and comment down below, as that massively helps the channel. It's absolutely free for you guys to do so. If you would like to support the channel a step further, I've now got a Patreon account, which is a way for get support via income for the channel, which goes straight into me getting things like battle tomes, same towards the camera, also things like a better mic, things like that, and generally just for me to be able to justify the time I put into making the videos and stuff. So on that note, I would like to thank my 4 patrons that are the Vampire tier. So these are people who donate at least $5 a month to me. And this is going to be to Simon, Kyle, Max and Martin. So again, guys, thank you very much for your donation. It's all going towards good things that I plan for the channel, and be nice. And I'll be putting something in the Patreon chat later to ask you guys what would you prefer for me to spend the money on. So yes, there was all that. If you can't support me on Patreon, I absolutely understand that. I just really am grateful for you checking out this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. So remember, until then, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.